I want to go to another federal political issue now, and this is Labor's superannuation taxation plans. Let's bring in Dimitri Burshtein, who's with Eminence Advisory, joining us live from Sydney. Thanks for joining us, Dimitri. This is astounding, this idea of taxing unrealised profits in super accounts above $3 million. Now, the whole basis for Labor's argument here is don't worry about it, most people don't have this much money. What concerns me more, though, is the thin end of the wedge. If you can tax unrealised profits, that could be applied across all sorts of circumstances, even right across the spectrum when it comes to pension eligibility and all the rest of it. Are you worried about this as a new means of taxing money before it's even realised?
Hi, Chris. Thanks for having me on your show. And absolutely, yes, it's the thin end of the wedge. It's a wealth tax. And I do note, whilst the government's proposal is for a 3 million threshold, the Greens, with whom the government will need their support to pass the legislation, want it to be 2 million. And it's currently non-indexed. So eventually, it could erode to, ridiculously low levels and capture everyone. And I will also note, I can't say for certain because I haven't seen the Treasury advice. I suspect there's an element of sloppiness in the analysis because I don't think they counted all the defined benefit pension members who will also be caught by this scheme.
Yeah, I think you make a really strong point there. This won't get through the Senate without the Greens. And if the Labor says 3 million and the Greens say 2 million, let's split the difference and say it gets passed at 2.5 million. It's going to then capture a lot more people. And as people get older, the younger people savings mount, it'll capture more and more. Let me just show you what Richard Marles, the acting Prime Minister, had to say in defence of this today.
We've seen a smear campaign in relation to the superannuation arrangements, arrangements which were announced 2 years ago. So there's nothing new in relation to these. And I would just further add that we're talking about very modest changes which apply to about 0.5% of superannuants.
You've got to laugh, a smear campaign against a tax grab. But the point is, a lot of us have been raising concerns about this for the last 2 years, but it didn't get through Parliament, and now it's finally getting the attention it deserves.
That's correct, Chris, and I also find it amusing that he says a smear campaign standing in front of Medicare sign. But you're absolutely correct, Chris, and I've been wondering during the election and prior, where has the coalition been? This tax was announced in I think it was February 2003. It's a horrible tax. It's designed badly. It breaches all sorts of design principles of simplicity, of transparency. The fact that it can be charged on unrealised gains is just despicable. And it is applicable outside the superannuation system. It lays a template to go after the own home, any assets. It's essentially a wealth tax.
Look, any one of us who's got a home, even if we've still got a hefty mortgage, we are sitting on an unrealised gain. And it means that that's exposed to government tax at some stage if we let this go through. You should not be able to tax money until it actually exists. Just briefly, we're nearly out of time, but Dimitri, another point I thought you made brilliantly in your op-ed piece was that the Treasury now seems totally focused now on finding new ways to get revenue, directed by their Labor masters, no doubt. They're just trying to find new taxes, new ways to suck in more revenue, instead of finding ways to be more efficient and more productive and generate more money.
Yes, I believe that is the case. And I'll provide a quote that Ronald Reagan gave in 1983 in a speech in 1983. That's what, 40 odd years ago. He said, "We don't have $1 trillion debt because we haven't taxed enough. We have $1 trillion debt because we spend too much." And Australia now essentially has $1 trillion debt. You're right. Treasury is obsessed with collecting more and more revenue, and you can see it. They lay the breadcrumbs every year by putting out their tax expenditure statement. Any rate of tax that's below the marginal income tax is considered a tax expenditure. And that's just preposterous. The government should be finding ways to reduce government expenditure, inefficiency, bloat, and spending in areas that they should not be spending. I was listening to your interview with Sarah Henderson, and she was talking about how the federal education minister should be directing state schools. On what basis does the federal education minister have any providence in state education matters? Whilst I agree with the principle, get out of the way.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's so much doubling up in our federation. We'll keep on the case. Thanks for joining us, Dimitri. I appreciate it.